In the last video, we looked at getting the hips moving while we're throwing single power punches, and then also lining up the power, getting that hip to finish its rotation in the direction of the target. Now this action is either going to be helped or it's going to be hurt by what's happening below the hips. So in other words, what the legs are doing. We're talking about having a proper base to be able to deliver a powerful hip strike. We're also talking about the action of the leg muscles in helping to augment that power in the hips. Okay, so let's take a look at the stance. There's really two things that we want to be focusing on at this point. Number one is slightly bent knees, weight on the front half of the foot. Not high up on the toes, just on the front half of the foot. Have a light heel. Otherwise, if we want to make an athletic movement, if we want to move, or if we want to punch, what's the first thing we need to do? We need to shift that weight to the front of the foot. That's an extra movement. Let's get rid of that. Same thing with the knees. If we have locked out knees and we want to make an athletic movement, first thing we need to do, get down on those knees. Again, that's an extra movement. This game is way too fast to start incorporating unnecessary moves in there. The second thing we want to think about as far as the stance is we don't want it to be too narrow and we don't want it to be too wide. If it's too narrow, aside from the obvious balance considerations, we're getting in our own way here. If I want to throw a right hand, the left side is blocking that hip from coming around freely. Remember, your body either needs to help with the movement or it needs to get out of the way. In this case, we need the left side to get out of the way to allow free movement. Second thing, we don't want it to be too wide. If you're banging away and that stance ends up wide and we want to make a move, again, what's the first thing we got to do? We got to bring that in. It's an extra movement. Start removing those. Now, oftentimes we see people start off with a real nice stance, balanced, good spread, and then as they start moving around the floor or they start moving around the ring, it starts to creep closer, or they'll be banging away and that stance will get wider and wider. So that's a consideration. You need to make sure that you maintain the integrity of that stance throughout the full round. Okay, see you next time.